When you want your spring break to feel like... and your kids' pool day to feel like... and your hotel bed to feel like... ooh, and room service to feel like... because at Hilton, hospitality feels like...
Your cabana's ready. Would you like fresh towels?
It matters where you stay. Book now at Hilton.com. Hilton, for the stay.
It's Deprogram, the podcast where we try to get you into a band. That's right. We've done all the work for you. All you have to do is press play and listen. My name is Justin, and normally what we would do, is, because I'm band curious, we would talk about a band and try to get you into the band by coming up with a top 10 star kit list for whatever band we were talking about this day. Not today, because you've come across this podcast on one of our daily episodes where we just have like a random music conversation, and these will become more conversations rather than just me talking at you. Today is actually a Q&A episode, is one you've stumbled on, so hopefully you're a regular listener to the show and you're just listening because this is part of your week. If you're new, then I'm sorry that you've stumbled on us on a Q&A episode, but here we are. Please hit subscribe. Yay. Thank you for coming aboard. So, Anderson asks on Threads, and this was last week. Sorry, but it kind of got buried under a couple episodes we did. Which episodes have the most downloads, streams? You know, without giving away numbers, I can give you our top episodes. Matchbox 20, far and away our number one episode. Bruno Mars, Coldplay, Eminem. Coldplay and Eminem are like neck and neck right now. Red Hot Chili Peppers were number one for a good long time, and they've just kind of steadily been dropping down the charts. Pink, Limp Bizkit, Def Leppard, hilarious. Dire Straits, and Steely Dan is our number 10, with Billie Eilish nipping at their heels at the number 11 spot. But I mean, I feel like there's, you look at the next couple, Linkin Park, Jim Croce, they've all kind of had their turn in the top 10. So, but Matchbox 20 kind of took hold not that long ago and kind of have gone absolutely nuts, and no sign of slowing. Joe texted me a question this week, a Q for an A. When did Final Say become a thing, and what brought it on? So I can't find an exact, and I can't remember if I actually said it on one of the episodes, but it was in between 2021 and 2022, I believe. And the first time it appears in my quote-unquote paperwork is the Queen episode, which I think was the first one of 2022. So I've always pitched this kind of like as a game show, and we always have this discussion at the beginning of like how we put our lists together, and I wanted another element of game show to it, and I thought it would be fun to try and remove like the really hairy conversation that song number 10 can get to be. And I was like, well, what if we took it out of the conversation's hands and put it in solely into somebody's? And so if anybody has never listened to the show, at the beginning of the episode, or as we're ending the discussion part of the episode, before we get to the list building, I ask everybody how many unanimous songs we think we're going to get through on the list. And everybody answers, and if somebody actually wins, they get to pick the 10th song, no questions asked, obviously, as long as it's by that artist. So if you had a song that went into the bin that you really wanted on the list, you can do that. I, of course, don't like that. Some people do that. You can do whatever you want if you win the final say. And I'm almost positive that's when it came in, as I introduced it going into 2022. and I just wanted another level to the conversation, another level to put a little gamesmanship to it. And I thought I feel like it's worked out rather well. Sometimes nobody wins it and we just have to converse our way out of it anyway, which is fine. But a lot of wheeling and dealing happens because of that too. So, and some of that stuff will be coming up and you will be hearing about it on episodes that are coming up. Now, so if you do happen to have my number, you can text me these questions, or if you follow us on Threads at deprogrammed.va, you can also ask there. But the majority of people ask in the Legion of Stupid Discord. I am going to have to scroll up. I think I pinned a couple of them because that would be easier. I did one. What band, Mesma asks, what band has been the hardest to narrow down to 10 songs? I did do this one. Sorry. I did that one already. Remove it, please. I thought I pinned the next one, and I didn't. So I'm going to have to scroll up. Andrew asks, as per the question on Q&A... Oh, no, this was not it. Sorry. Jenny asks, in case you ever do another Q&A, I'd love to know about your process for getting through so many Discovery episodes. And I have definitely changed how I do it lately, especially because as I record this, I'm in the midst of 5 episodes in like 7 days, and it's almost all Discovery. And I mean, it's almost all Discovery nowadays. I've had to really rethink how I do my first pass because that's the most critical. So it really depends on the band. Like, if it's something like Minutemen, which we're recording tonight as I record this, you're hearing this on Friday, it's already been recorded. But for something like the Minutemen, where most of the songs are less than a minute, I'll just listen to them all the way through, and that'll be that. Sometimes it's more than that. And the really kind of depends on what the starting list is. So I always try to hammer the idea of get it to a manageable number, because if it's a manageable number somewhere between, I don't know, like 60 and 75 songs, I feel like I can listen to a little bit more of each song on the first pass than if you come at me with like 90, 100. So the more songs that are in that initial list, the shorter amount of time each song is going to get on my first pass. So I try to get the idea of what the artist is within the first couple songs, which is why I always love picking, album 1, track 1, where they tell you exactly what to expect. Doesn't always work that way. So generally speaking, I'll listen to 2 to 3 songs fully all the way through just to kind of get the vibe of what this artist is. And if I feel like I've got a good enough dial on it, then it's like you get 30 seconds from then on out. 30 seconds to kind of go, okay, yeah, that aligns, or that's different enough that I want to hear more on my next pass, or, to that effect. And then I'll repeat the same thing on when I get to the next record, only it'll be like 1 or 2 songs just to see, okay, this is the evolution, same thing, 30 seconds, and then so on and so forth. And that's kind of how it goes. I've had to evolve my next wave of cuts recently to involve the audience more, just to kind of see if my finger's actually on the pulse or not, if I got the right idea or not. And so I'll use the audience to kind of start making at least the initial cuts of, okay, nobody sang this song that made it through my first pass, so I think it's safe to kind of lose that. And it's really made it a little bit easier to cram all this music and be ready and be part of the conversation a lot more than I normally would be in these instances. So hopefully that answers it. Mesmo asks, has there been a band where you thought this will be easy and it turned out to be near impossible to narrow down? What band do you secretly hope someone requests so you have an excuse to deep dive their catalog? There's been a lot of that's come across. this will be easy to narrow down and ends up being difficult. Pink Floyd comes up a lot here because it just is. It's impossible to separate. And Pink Floyd specifically, I've mentioned this a lot lately, so I won't harp on it, but it made it hard just to do the show. We just recorded our Social Distortion episode. Thank goodness I adopted the new way of making those cuts that I just told you about, because that made it a lot easier. Neil Young was really hard to narrow down. I mean, you're asking which ones were easy. I never think it's going to be easy, because most of the time, to Jenny's point, most of the time I'm discovering an artist these days. Most of the time. So I don't know, more often than not, going in what to expect. So if I don't know what to expect going in, I can't know, well, this is going to be easy. I can say that some have been a little easier to narrow down than I thought. Minutemen kind of being one of those acts, surprisingly. But again, I kind of have that new way of how I'm doing it. I'm trying to think. Cheap Trick ended up being a lot easier than I expected, but also it kind of needed to be, because that's kind of the nature of it. I'm trying to see stuff that we've done recently, if there's anything that kind of, oh, you know what? Counting Crows I thought was going to be super easy, because I thought it was going to be very surface level, and I thought it was going to be Mr. Jones and that's it, and whatever else. And that was actually pretty difficult. I mean, it was more difficult than I would have expected when it came to be that we were going to be doing that band specifically. All right. What band do you secretly hope someone requests so you have excuse to deep dive their catalog? I put Eurythmics up at one point because it feels like, I honestly thought that would be a band that people would jump at, and it just hasn't happened yet. I want to see what I have on our suggested list to see if there's anything that kind of jumps out at me. At this point, it's just I'm so deep in it, like, all the time. I don't know that I think like that anymore. Bare Naked Ladies is on here. I don't know if that necessarily qualifies. Digital Underground, I put them up there in hopes somebody would bite. Liam Lynch, I've never done the dive. Jimmy's Chicken Shack, I've never done the dive. I know I'm really familiar with two of their records, but I think they have like three others that I've never did the dive on. So that would be something I'd be into. Eurythmics, as I said. I want to say, is Aretha Franklin not on here? I guess not. I put Dolly Parton up here, but Dolly Parton, Aretha Franklin, like, I know they're iconic voices. They're like, technically they don't need us to do the show on them, but also I kind of really want to do those episodes just to listen to them, just cause. Okay, I think that gets everything. Joe also asked in the Discord what happens when you go somewhere new, but he asked the bot, and I don't know if he was asking me or the bot, but what happens when you go somewhere new? I don't know what you mean by that, Joe. Do you mean like discover a new record or discover a new band? Because the bot answered it. So if that's the case. And I think that's all the questions for this week. Indeed. So with that, we're going into the weekend. We will see you all on Monday. Bye.